obviously, when it's just myself on pod with whoever, it's awesome.
Freeze, I'm glad you're here because the chastising you gave me, my asshole is still puckering. So I'm just glad you're with us.
Hold on a second. I don't chastise people. Well, yeah, maybe I do.
On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, Passing Fake Money, the 6mm arc, Larry Vickers has a new 1911, and the Mystic Toad Venom Ritual.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Danny, Marky, and Freeze, and this is episode 176 of the John1911 Podcast. I am saying good morning because it's 11:59. It has not hit 12 noon yet. So how are the boys doing today?
I'm good. I mean, I've worked all night, but, I'm actually in a pretty good place.
Well, not me. I'm still living here in the People's Republic, so it's totally insane. It's totally insane.
Well, I heard that the People's Republic just broke a record
for weekend shootings.
Yeah, no, for weekend killings. Let's say the way it is. Basically, I heard that Chicago just broke a record for the amount of killings that they've had over the weekend.
Yeah, I believe it was 27.
Okay, because I can look at the numbers. I don't have it in front of me, but it's like, when Chicago has more deaths over a 5-year period than Iraq and Afghanistan combined, but yet the news media doesn't talk about it, and Chicago is the epitome of gun control, you have to really think about it.
Well, not only gun control, they have signs everywhere, gun-free zones. Obviously, people aren't, listening to them. They have no going out in public without your mask and no groups of 10 or larger. But here is the stupidest one that they have put out. You could take 6 people in the same car, drive to the lake, but those same 6 people are not allowed on the boat. Only 2 are at a time.
Well,
you can't make this shit up.
That is Chicago logic, brother. It really is.
That's a government bureaucrat logic right there.
Yeah.
That's the genesis of most of these problems is you've got, and I'm beating a dead horse, so I won't let the listener have to hear it all over again. But, giant government, giant bureaucracies, and giant corporations do not have the ability to make common sense decisions on the ground because they're too far removed, and it just always turns into a giant food bomb.
Well, look,
now let me share a statistic because I want people to I want the listener to know this, and I bet you both don't know this statistic since everyone's talking about the amount of shootings in Chicago. So there's been riots all across the world apparently, and now they're even vandalizing the 54th Massachusetts, the famous 54th All-Black Regiment that fought in the Civil War.
Oh my God, I saw that.
Yeah, and Lincoln, I guess in London got tagged or something. But check this out. But they're all talking about the crime bill and policing and all of that. So instead of everybody getting their opinion, let's go into a little bit of fact here. Just as a data point. I'm not for or against this, just so people can know what they're talking about. So the other day, I posted on the John1911 website a photograph of a Ed Brown catalog from 1991.
I've seen
that.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous. It's cherry. It's like, oh my God, it's like the names in it. They're just, Chapman's in it. Like all these people that just, you just don't want to hear about anymore. Like these guns. And also it was interesting, all these guns with compensators, had gone out of style, and now they're coming back in style in 2020 and 2019 and 2018 with the Roland Special. It was just an interesting observation. But in 1991, let's talk about crime stats. New York City in 1991 had I think it was either 21 or 2,300 murders in their city in 1991.
Okay.
In that for the year.
Okay.
In 2019, the last year I believe they have the stats, it was 300.
Yeah.
So think about the amount of murders in New York City in 1991 versus today. And if you extrapolate that over 19 years, that's like, I mean, that's 20,000 people.
Yeah. No,
I mean that's 20,000 people that are alive.
Wow.
Look,
it doesn't surprise me.
No, but the problem is these stats don't mean a damn thing to the liberals, because basically, if you're a white cop, you're a black killing murderer. And I mean,
if you're a black cop, you're a
black killing murderer. I mean, but the point is, the stats, the real stats in the liberal left media, and it's not even the liberal left media, it's everyone. It's the socialist, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, anyone who basically hates fucking Trump. It's just like, well, you know, white cops are killing blacks in fucking record numbers. The stats don't meet that. The stats actually say that that's wrong, but no one in the media is reporting the correct fucking stats. And everyone's
like, in the mainstream media.
Yeah, okay, mainstream media. You're correct there. I mean, I'm wrong. You're right. It's the mainstream media, but like even Fox News, which you could consider mainstream media, they're not really. I mean, they are, but they're not. They're not, because they're walking the edge and they're playing the odds, and they don't want to go crazy. Look. Everyone freaked out when this Floyd guy was killed, and everyone agreed that the cop was wrong. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I agree with it. You agree with it. I'm sure Danny agrees with it. But
I mean, well, here's the thing. Who literally can you identify? I am quite certain, and I hate to bring this guy up, but it's election season, and so the Democrats and the mainstream media will bring him up every 4 years because somehow David Duke is a Republican, not a lifelong Democrat. But I would be willing to bet that even Ku Klux Klan member David fucking Duke, it literally is like, oh man, that cop killed that guy. I mean, who is taking the other side of this?
No one is taking the other side of it. Everyone is taking the right side of it. Because
then what's this about then? Then ask the next question. If no one's taking the other argument, then what's the argument really about then?
The argument is about doing whatever you can do to derail Trump, because for the last 3 years, we have tried everything. We've tried Russian collusion. We've tried impeachment. We've tried... I mean, God, I mean, you know,
COVID, smashing the economy, hydroxychloroquine, Chancellorsville, like it never. They always have something ready to go. It's about powers. Because here's the thing. Because here's a question, like just a logical question, like justice. Like we need justice for George Floyd, and everybody deserves justice. Nobody takes the other position of that. Here's the thing. The last I checked, all those police officers involved in that, and I don't even know if all of them, I don't know, I have to see all the facts, but all the police officers, the facts are, have been arrested and charged and or indicted.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing. They may not all be prosecuted depending on what comes out, but they've all been fired. They've all been prosecuted. You know, they've all been arrested and prosecuted. Now we'll see what the income is, but the bottom line is no one, and I mean absolutely no one in this country is saying, oh, the cops were in the right. However, it's just like Ferguson. I can name a dozen situations where we've had riots over the past 15 years where a black guy was killed by a white cop, and it turns out that the black guy that was killed turns out to be a first-class fucking dirtbag. Now, look, I'm not saying what's his name? George Floyd? Is it first name
so.
George?
I get his name confused with Lloyd George, the former Prime Minister of England. It fucks me up.
We'll just call him the Floyd guy. Okay, so Floyd guy, look, no one is saying that this cop. Now, look, this dude was big. This guy was huge. I mean, he's a big dude. There's no doubts about that. You know, and we've talked about this off pod on my personal experience. Hold on.
Yeah, wait a minute. You know what? Hold on. Let's stop. I want you Freeze in a private conversation offline brought up a theory and an observation that was so interesting and so introspective and informative. I think it needs to be mentioned on pod. Do you know the point I'm talking about?
No, I do know the point. Are you sure you want to talk about it on pod?
Well, okay. Well, here's what I will do. I will outline the boundary conditions of this. That way, you know where you can and can't go.
Okay.
So here's what Freeze said. And Freeze, I was literally what little of my hair I have left was blown back. Because again, nobody's taken the side of the cops, and I don't think they should, but they deserve due process. They've been arrested. They've been charged. And, oh, my God, and to make it worse, George Floyd's freaking autopsy report, I mean, it's like you could almost make the argument, how was he even standing on 2 feet? I mean, like meth and
fentanyl.
He had fentanyl. I mean, COVID. He had COVID. It's like, what the fuck? It's crazy. But here's what Freeze said. Freeze said, "Look, what happened? What was the service call for? It was for counterfeit 20
counterfeit bill. I don't know what the denomination of the bill was. It could have been a 20, could have been a 50, could have been 100, but it was a counterfeit bill. Original reports were it was a fake check. It wasn't a fake check. It was a counterfeit U.S. bill."
So, and Freeze had said, and I will set your boundary conditions here. Freeze had said, and this is the real world. This is where the news media won't ever talk about this. Fake money, especially in the ghetto, is so common that typically it doesn't even involve a police run. What happens is the bill is either given back to the guy or the bill is confiscated and everybody parts company because nobody wants to go there. And the reality is it's a bullshit counterfeit bill charge. It'll be a crappy counterfeit bill. And the cops are busy and nobody's really wanting to come for this. And the fact that there was a call made for this to you, your theory was he must have been acting like a raging asshole.
Okay, so to basically follow up on this is, here's the thing. Guy comes in with a counterfeit bill. Guy, girl, doesn't matter who it is. They come into the cashier with counterfeit bill. The cashier finds out, they look at the bill, whether they check it with a pen or whether they look at the watermark or whatever, they realize it's fake. And trust me, there's more bad fake bills, and you've got a collection of these, than there are good bills. Okay, so
I have to clear that with the Secret Service, but yes.
Okay. So what happens is you go, well, this is a fake bill. I can't take it. Do you have another way to pay? And they go, oh, well, no, I don't. And you go, okay, well, you have a nice day. And then they move on their way. Now, the other side of that coin is they try to pass a fake bill and you catch it as a fake bill. And then they start giving you a problem. They start getting loud. They start feeling that if they get obnoxious and loud, you'll just take it to get rid of them. And then the other side of that, and that's the point when you go, well, like we can call the cops and we can have the police look at the bill. And if the police deem the bill is legitimate, then we'll. If not, well, then you have to deal with the repercussions of the police being here with the fake bill. Now, mind you, the police aren't really putting a priority on this because, okay, Danny, you come in with a $20 bill and you go into whatever your local grocery store is, Kroger's or Thriftway or whatever the hell they have up in Commie Land. and they go, no, this is a fake bill. You go, oh, fuck, man, I just got this from the bank, or I just got this from the BP gas station. Okay, and you move on your way because it's a fake bill and they're not taking it. Or you can get obnoxious about it, and then they will call the cops. Now, you call the cops and say, well, I got a customer in here who's obnoxious and he's trying to pass a counterfeit $20 bill. We'll say 20 because we don't know what the denomination is, and it doesn't matter really. And the cops
they're rarely less than 20.
No, they're never less than 20. Well, they are.
Well, they're rarely because
20s, 50s, or 100s is a norm.
Yeah.
So the cops go, okay, we'll come up. But look, the cops aren't going to be there in 30 seconds or a minute and a half. It's going to take 15, 20, 30 minutes for the cops to respond because it's a bullshit counterfeit bill call and they're busy. That's the reality of the situation. So the fact that this guy, and mind you, there's no fucking video of this guy during the whole transaction. The only video we have of this guy is when the cops show up.
Well, hold on. It is a murder investigation or a homicide investigation. There will be more video turn up. We have not seen all the evidence.
Maybe so, but right now we're not seeing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. That's correct.
So right now, all we're seeing is this guy apparently caused enough of an issue to where the store had to call the cops on this guy for a counterfeit bill, which never freaking happens.
Especially during the day.
Yeah, unless you get obnoxious. And I know this from personal experience. This isn't me speculating.
Okay,
this is me telling.
Okay, hold on. So just so we can be clear, because words have meaning, Freeze does not make or attempt to pass fake $20 bills.
that is true.
Okay.
That is true.
Now, Freeze,
okay,
explain to the listener why most people that when the police interface with somebody with a fake $20 bill, why those people don't normally get arrested or prosecuted. Explain why that is.
Okay. Well, because here's the thing. So Danny walks in with the fake $20 bill, and I'm beating you up on this, Danny.
Well, in communist Chicago.
Hey, okay. I know Washington belongs on the 20. I'm good.
Yeah. So Danny walks in with a fake $10,000 bill. No, he walks fake 20. And the store goes, hey, this is fake. And Danny goes, oh, okay, not a problem. Whatever. And he leaves. But when Danny gets a big old sack on him and he decides to get obnoxious and argue with him, he's just like, okay, well, this is bullshit. This is real. I got this back in change, whatever. And the store goes, well, we can call the cops and we can let them mediate it. And here's the thing with that.
Sometimes people that pass fake money will sometimes try to claim that like, hey, dude, this is fake. That person will then say, that's not the bill I just gave you.
It will, but at the end of the day, when the police are involved, they're going to believe the store over the customer.
Yeah. 9
out of 10 times. I mean, that's just the way it is, because the store has no reason to lie or call the cops on you. So what happens is when they call the cops, most of the time, at that point, they're on 911. They're on the phone. The person trying to pass the fake bill sees them on the phone talking to the 911 operator. And that's usually the point in time where they decide to leave, because it's like, well, I'm going to cut my losses and get the fuck out of here. So 15, 20 minutes later, when the cops show up, this dude is still sitting in his car outside the store. There's a problem with that. I mean, there's a serious problem with that, because most normal people at that point would be like, okay, we're done. It's time for me to go.
Well, we don't know if it was just him sitting outside the store. Like, there probably was more to the story. But explain to the listener why somebody caught with a fake $20 bill typically does not get arrested.
Well, okay, and that's a good question, because at the end of the day, okay, so Danny's in there with a fake $20 bill and the cops show up. And Danny goes, well, this is a $20 bill I got back from BP when I got gas. And the cops are like, okay, well, they can't prove you made that fake $20 bill to pass it. They have to assume you're telling the truth, that you got it back as change. At the end of the day, there's no way for the law enforcement people that show up to prove you're out there trying to pass fake money.
So
because
what it
if you
turns
sit there
what it turns into is a 911 call, a call for service that the police are going to show up, and the most they're going to typically do, if they even get these calls, is take a piece of fucking toilet paper back to the station with them.
Exactly.
That's all.
Exactly. No one's getting arrested. No one's getting arrested. So if Danny's in there trying to pass a fake $20 bill, and he made it in his basement that morning, and the store catches them, they call the cops show up, no one's getting arrested, because it's my word against yours. There's no proof. There's no way to prove you made it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, no one's getting arrested. It's not that big of a deal. And that's why the cops are not going to show up 30 seconds after you make that call, because it's a bullshit call. They know it's a bullshit call. They know what's going on. I mean, so the fact that you're still in the environment. Okay, first off, there was a call for service. The police, there was a call for service, which is unusual. The police made it there while the suspect is still on scene is unusual. The fact that somebody was going to get arrested is unusual. Like, there's so much stuff that is so unusual without even talking about homicide and knees on necks and backs. That in the real world, that is strange as hell.
Well,
it is strange as hell, and no one in the media is talking about that
because they don't know what happens on the street, dude. They don't know what life is like in the ghetto.
I read something extremely interesting this morning. Supposedly, 2 of the cops that were charged were newbies. The guy doing the neck kneeling was the FTO, and he told them where to stand on perimeter.
Okay, now I've heard. Now that's another issue that people are wondering, because there is a pecking order. Okay, you've got senior officers, and then you've got lower ranked people. That's true whether you're working in the Apple factory or working in the foxhole. Like, there's a sergeant and there's a private, and they ain't equal. And the thing is, it's like, now I don't know if the situation where it literally was a rookie in his probationary period with an FTO so the guy that was arrested was an FTO with a probationary rookie officer with him. Is that what they're actually saying?
Yes, 2 of them were.
So
2 of them were rookies, and the FTO set perimeter and had them where they were.
Well, here's the thing: if those guys are in their probationary period, they can be fired without cause. Like,
correct.
So that's interesting.
Okay,
well, they can't be, but here's the thing: if they're fired without cause, did they have a counter lawsuit?
No.
If their FTO told them to stand down?
No, traditionally, no. I mean, you can make a lawyer to make the argument that a stop sign doesn't mean stop. But when you're when you're in your probationary period, they can fire. They can just let you go. I mean, it depends. I mean, again, this is back to the conversation with bureaucracies. In the real world, team members and teams work together, and how a team functions is more important than somebody's just an ass on a seat. And so, like, the reason they have these probationary periods, theoretically, is so they're like, hey, this guy's going to work here. He's a good fit. He gels with the guys like him or her. She likes them or he likes them. And it's all kosher, as opposed to, man, that guy's a raging fucking asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Because traditionally why you have that. But the reality is in like these big ass cities like Cincinnati, it becomes impossible to fire people. I'm sure it's the same in Minneapolis. It's impossible to fire people.
I'm sure. I'm sure you're right.
That's just one of the points I read. The second point that I read this morning was that the kneeling officer attorney is now stating they have video to show the knee was absolutely not in contact with the neck.
Well, no, wait a minute. That's true. I mean, I've seen the video. It looks like the knee is actually on the guy's back. It's the same move. It depends on its upper back and neck. It's to pin somebody down. It's harder to get up to raise if you can't raise your upper body. So yeah, I mean, look, from a homicide perspective here, I'm gonna jump onto the anti-police side of this argument, for the defendant side of the argument here. I'll jump against it. The argument is the actions that the officer took for almost 9 minutes led to the death of the victim in this case. Now, here's the thing. If I am on the street and I come up and I sucker punch an 80-year-old man and he falls down but dies of a heart attack, you can make the argument that he didn't die from my punch, but he died from my punch. My actions resulted in his death. And that's going to be like that argument that the knee was not on the neck, it was on the back is like, all right, yeah, good for you, because I can crush you in your lungs from your back. I mean, but again, what makes this all suck, fentanyl, meth. I mean, like, oh my God, this is a fucking nightmare, this whole scenario. Because, I hate to say this, these guys, this cop, the main cop, he's in such a bad way, because I'm going to say this about a police officer, because we don't know all the facts. You wait, a video will come out, something will come out, and things could change. We don't have all the evidence. But the fact that right now, like, this cop could get off because of all the heart condition and supposed all this other bullshit with this guy. I mean, it just sucks. The whole thing. He's not going to get murder. He'll probably get some kind of murder, I don't know how they charge up there, but it'll be like manslaughter. You know what I mean? Like a negligent homicide. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to get murder. He's not going to get murder one, because it's not a murder one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's no. I agree with you on that. And look, this thing is such a shit show from day one.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
but you know what? I thought your statements about the calls for service on the counterfeit bill was something that nobody in the media is talking about. And I was like, God damn, I didn't even think of that. You're right.
No, but no one is talking about that.
Freeze and I were talking about this, like how much counterfeit money you and I have interfaced with. Like, it's a lot, Like, stacks of it. The fact that this turns into an arrest.
Over the past 20 years, the amount of counterfeit money I've come across is amazing. Do you know how many arrests involved that? I literally have come across stacks and stacks of counterfeit bills, thousands of dollars. When you start adding up 50s and 100s, it adds up quick. Out of the thousands of dollars of counterfeit bills I've come across in the past 20 years, do you want to know how many arrests that involved?
Zero.
Okay. I mean,
traditionally,
zero.
to see an arrest for counterfeit money is normally executed by the Secret Service.
Yes. And the thing is, when the Secret Service comes up and arrests you for a counterfeit bill, dude, you're guilty. I mean, they have all the evidence. They have everything they need to go. They know you're the one making it. They know that you're the one passing it. And basically, it's a matter of your attorney can work out the best deal he can work out for your prison sentence, because you're guilty. Going to jail.
Speaking of being guilty and going to jail, because we're going to get off this George Floyd thing a little bit, because I can't want to dominate the whole podcast. So I'm going to tell an interesting story to the listener that's kind of funny. and it's a counterfeit story. And Freeze, you will remember this. Do you remember the story about the guy who was making counterfeit money in his basement? And it was it was high quality, and he did it for decades. And number two, he wasn't a pig about it. He would do 20s and 10s. He would do smaller bills.
Yes, I'm very familiar with this story.
He would do smaller bills, and he would do reasonable buys, and he would, sprinkle them in, and it was a way to supplement his income. It's counterfeit money, dude. You're going to prison. But it wasn't like some guy trying to buy a Ferrari, and he did this for years. But he was so good, what he did is he had his own quality control. And so he would, print a bill in his basement, however he did it, and he would look at it and analyze it and dry it and to go through this whole way. He'd be like, oh, this one's no good, and he would set it aside because he didn't want to really. I don't know why he didn't throw them away, or maybe he didn't want to throw them, couldn't burn them, or I don't know what his situation was. Well, he ended up having over years stacks and stacks and stacks of quality control rejected fake money. And then somebody went into his house, saw that pile of money, and was like, dude, I'm going to take a couple bucks for myself, not knowing it was counterfeit, went to spend it, and it all bounced back. And he's like, I got this out of Bobby's house in his basement. And that's how they caught the guy.
Well, let me tidy up the story. What happened is the guy was a printer by trade, and in his house he had a room in his basement where he had a printing press, and he was printing counterfeit money, and he'd been doing this for like 30, 40 years, but not greedy, as you said. He was printing small amounts just to supplement his income. Well, after his wife died of many years, he rented out like the upstairs of his house to people, to again supplement his income. The basement, the room where he had his printing press, was always padlocked. Well, the basement was where the laundry room was. Like a lot of two family houses, the basement has, washer and dryer. Mm-hmm. Well, one day he forgot to lock the door. Well, the person who rented out his part of his house was down there doing laundry, and he goes in there and goes, and he gets curious. He goes in there and he sees the press, and he sees stacks and stacks of fucking money. Now, these are all bills that this guy rejected because they weren't perfect. And he grabbed a big old fucking stack of money. Probably, I don't know the dollar amount, but he grabbed probably thousands of dollars worth of money because he grabbed a big old
Pigs
stack.
Pigs get fat, hogs
and he
get
started,
slaughtered.
Exactly. And he started spending them. Well, the Secret Service, who investigates counterfeit money, got wind of it because a lot of counterfeit bills were turning up in this area, and they eventually caught up to him, and they caught him. And well, when they caught him, he's just like, well, I got these bills from my landlord because he's got a big old fucking basement full of bills. Well, they come in and they bust the guy, and this guy's an old guy. I think if I remember correct, he was in like his late 60s, early 70s. And they were like, the Secret Service was like, if this chode wouldn't have grabbed his bad bills and started circulating them, they would have never caught this guy. This guy wouldn't have even been on their radar because the bills he passed were so good. They passed. Now, this was years ago before they had the holographic stripes and shit like that, because I believe this was probably in
80s.
This was probably
80s?
This was in the late 80s when this went down. So bills were, it could have been early 90s, but not past the early 90s, so it was easier to counterfeit back then. But the point is, because he slipped up and left his room unlocked, and look, this guy had stacks and stacks of bills that did not pass his muster. And when his neighbor grabbed a big chunk of them, he didn't even notice it because he probably had millions of dollars worth of bills that didn't pass. because he only spent the bills that were top quality, and no one knew.
Well,
I mean, it was one of those situations where it took that type of a guy to.
I remember hearing that the Secret Service had said that these were some of the best counterfeit. It was some of the best counterfeit money they had ever seen, and because the way this guy was operating, like you said, they would have never detected him. But it's interesting because what was happening is, technology was getting to the point that people were able to basically make money. And that's why you started seeing different multicolors, different fabrics, holograms, magnetic strips, because, and just for the listener at home, the two largest entities that counterfeit United States currency on the planet are the governments of North Korea and the government of Syria. So every time you see like these crazy updates to these bills and these crazy watermarks, and it's super complicated, it's not really to beat the guy in the basement anymore. It's to beat large industrial counterfeiters that have the wealth of a nation state to possibly counterfeit money to get around embargoes. So, anyway, that's the George Floyd thing, and I don't want to spend the whole podcast. We're going to go for 40 minutes, whatever. So, hey, have you guys heard of? Did you guys hear about the Instagram guy that was arrested in California for trying to form up with the National Guard riot police? Did you guys hear about this?
No,
I have not heard that.
Man, so this guy apparently he did serve, but he's he's prior service, but he is I guess he's big into. I wouldn't say he's not a reenactor, because I don't think he goes to reenactments of wars, but he is one of these guys that literally puts together complete outfits. I've seen a photograph of him in like some kind of maybe World War II airborne outfit, or he'll do, he may do a GWAT or something outfit or something. Well, apparently he was down in the riots somewhere in some California city, and there's some debate as to how exactly this all came about. His argument may be that he was, because he looks so much like the guys, but the accusation is that he had that he just voluntarily tried to fit in with the National Guard guys. And what happened is the National Guard guys were looking at him, and his shit was better than their shit, and they started realizing, like, who the fuck are you? Are you like a U.S. Marshal? What are you? Are you like there's no special forces. They were. Because he's a gear queer, and he had all this super fancy shit. I think he even had 80% lower guns to get around the California roster. And so the ghost gun thing's going to come up. It's a fucking mess. It is a mess. And apparently he's got a huge following on Instagram, possibly with airsofters. But I just thought that was super interesting. So. No,
it really is interesting.
Well, Danny hasn't heard me say
don't
two
start
words
the riot without me.
What's going on up there? What's going on with you, Danny?
Well, you want to know what's going on up here or in the political world?
Well,
take your pick.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you something interesting. So Danny's in the market for a 4-inch 38 special 6-shot revolver, like a K-frame. And we were contacted by a company last year that does grips, and we were just way too busy to deal with it. I told them, we got a bunch of range construction. We don't need anything from you right now. Well, they reached back out a couple of days ago, and they were like, hoping you guys are safe and hope the range construction's okay. Would you? Is there any grips you guys need? And I was like, well, you know what? Danny's I know I need some grips for a Model 10. I need grips for a 547, and I know Danny's in the market for either a Model 10 or a stainless, not a 66. I can't remember what they're called, but some kind of revolver. And I thought, Danny, would you want some synthetic modern grips for an old gun if we had a chance to get some?
I wouldn't care. I'm still heartbroken from not getting New
Dude,
York
you know
one.
what? Just go to Gunbroker. Just go to Gunbroker and type in NY1 or NY-1. You'll find 15 more of them.
You'll also find the price has now doubled along with ammunition. So I'll have to shop elsewhere.
But look, the truth is things will settle down here in the next month or two.
Well, check this
I mean,
out.
everything's
I was speaking
crazy.
to Shooter Supply over in Loveland a couple days ago, just about something. I was like, well, how's business been? He's like, we've been getting crushed again. He goes, now mind you, he sold out of a bunch of stuff, and then he's, got used stuff, and then he's built back up his new stuff. He told me he's down to 6 new guns now. He's so low on inventory because it's just been, as soon as the riot started happening, he got hit again.
Well, I'm going to listen to Freeze's advice. And when he had said, wait for a while, all these people that went out and bought everything will be selling them on the cheap in a few months.
So, so the price of,
and I stand by that.
The price of, police surplus 38s have even doubled. That's even gone up.
Yes. Everything's gone up. If it has a trigger,
I guess if you're desperate for a gun, and the store,
but I'll tell you what, if you go to like Palmetto State Armory, Magpul, BKF, a lot of these sites, a lot of their build kits, because they all basically work with AR shit, AR uppers, lowers, whatnot. Dude, they're all sold out. I mean, they're all sold out. Everyone has just snarfed up everything. But you know what though? Once all these rioting started, basically gun sales have exploded. Once again, talk about, we're going to defund the cops. You're not going to have any police force, whatever. And people are like, well, okay, I'm going to buy fucking firearms.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing all the memes and all the arguments. It's like, people saying like, people that say you don't need an AR with a 30-round magazine. What's your argument now? I mean, No, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, and the thing is, you can sit there and say, oh, well, you're saying that because I'm seeing it in memes, but go to the websites that actually sell these things and see if you could buy any of them. Wow.
They're all sold out.
That's a neat trick to actually sell out of all the ARs in the country, because there's so many people that make stuff for ARs or that make ARs. It is a red ocean. And I mean, that is a real indicator of some serious movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Freeze, that makes you want to get that red herring AR pistol of yours fixed correctly.
It is actually fixed, Danny. Thank you very fucking much. We have not had it out to the range because of the coronavirus and all that shit. We've been practicing social distancing, like all basically people that have been hoodwinked by the coronavirus fraud. But regardless, we still did it, and we have not been out to the range together for several months because of the COVID-19, because better safe than sorry. Whether we believe it's a myth or whether or not we believe it's not a myth, we've still erred on the side of caution like everyone else.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but there was all kinds of...
No, we're not going to we're not going to go into the details.
There were all kinds of restrictions that were placed on various groups of people associated with the armory. And so, like, a lot of trainings were canceled and things where people were getting nervous. And, even the police departments had started canceling trainings because, depending on what state, we were dealing with. Like at the same time, I had one group of law enforcement officers that were like, with multi-agency, multi-jurisdictional group, their command staff were like, no more trainings, because they're trying to keep everybody from getting sick and having all the officers go down at the same time. Where I had another state where their sheriff's office comes and goes, our qualifications are in 3 days. Our guys are coming on property and they're gonna practice. And it's like they were all fucking there. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's different strokes for different folks.
Exactly. So I mean, we've been playing it. We've been playing it safe, and that's fine. But the AR pistol that I was having all the trouble with is fixed.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, no, it's definitely up and running. We just have to get it out on the range and do some videos of it and play with it. But it's actually good to go, and it's rocking.
Speaking of AR platform guns, and I know you've been extremely busy because you still work in the ghetto. Have you? I wonder if you've heard of this. Is it Barrett and OSS have teamed up? They're marketing it as the Department of Defense told them to make this. Have you seen or heard anything about a new caliber called the 6mm ARC? Okay.
No.
It's
no.
I just saw.
No.
I was finally forced to pay attention to it the other day. Like maybe I think I saw the video, the presser on it, their social media statement about it last night, and so it's an AR. It's an AR compatible. Fits in an AR 5.56 magazine.
Let me ask you this: is it a semi-auto or bolt action?
It's for ARs. It's not a rimmed cartridge, and their argument, what they're claiming to do is it doesn't recoil that much, and it's got an effective range of 800 to 1,000 yards. Like it's almost like a 220. To me, it's almost like a 224 Valkyrie or some of these other rounds again. I mean, I don't know. It's like, here's the thing, because we've had some people ask about it online, and I've ignored it because look, I've been through this, and this is what I told a guy online. I said, dude, I'm old, and I've been around a long time, and I have been through so many of this for sure is going to happen. So, for example, we all went through, like I heard it was a done deal that the Army was going back to a 45. And then I heard a service pistol. And then I heard it was a done deal for people in the Army. They may go to a 40. And then I remember hearing from some industry guys, I don't know so many years ago, the Army is 100% going to 6.8 SPC. That they're going to it. It's because special forces and reasons, and that's happening. That never fucking happened. General Milley just came out, who's now and now he's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was the Army Chief of Staff when he said this. He's like, we've got this new cartridge and these new guns, and they're as powerful as M1 Abrams guns, and it's going to be the new 6.8, and that's going to be the thing, and maybe it's the thing. But I haven't seen the thing, and everybody keeps talking about the thing because it's the new thing. And it's like, I'm tired of hearing about the thing. And that's never fucking happened. And so even though 6.8 never happened, and the highest ranking member of the U.S. Army said that this was happening, now suddenly the Army is going 6.8 ARC because Barrett, Hornady, and maybe OSS say DOD said make it. And the kids are like, well, special forces are going to get it first. And then the Army will get it. It's like, dude, you are fucking, so not.
Well, I have a political question about that. If the Army did go to that caliber, is, politically speaking, do they still have to clear that shit with NATO?
Yes. However, it's funny you should mention it. In reality is the United States runs NATO. NATO's not going to really want to They would not like to hear that. But the thing is, we spend all the money. NATO doesn't spend any money. And like Trump's talking about pulling troops out of a third of U.S. troops out of Germany, because Germany just will not spend to their NATO commitments. So here's the thing. NATO's not spending money for their defense anyway. So suck it. You know what I mean? But there would have to be some coordination, but I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, kind of. I mean, it would have to be, it would be a NATO standard. The Army's not going to, the U.S. government, the Department of Defense is not going to implement a round into the logistics system of NATO that NATO can't support or deal with.
That was my question.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you on that. But look, on getting totally off that subject, I've got a joke for you that you can throw towards one of your buddies.
Well, come on, Freeze. We're bated breath here.
And I'm not going to mention what buddy, but when you hear the joke, you'll find it humorous. It says, "Who can drink 5 gallons of gas and not get sick?" Jerry can. Okay. No, that's weak. But it's kind of like.
Let me tell you. I don't know if I ever told this one on podcast. I can't mention the department, but there was a there was a cop on the range at our range from a jurisdiction that I guess is I guess it's a wealthier-ish. I mean, I don't know. I don't live there. It's whatever kind of jurisdiction it was. And their police department, I guess there is a bad neighborhood right next door. And so the other cops, I heard him say it to them a couple times, and I thought I was mishearing it. They were calling him the Border Patrol. And I'm like, what? And so basically their joke was, yeah, that police department, their entire job is really just be Border Patrol from the neighborhood next door. And I was like, ouch, I bet the politicians don't want to hear that one. So I was just like, Border Patrol. I was like, that's cute. Cops always have some cute little
innuendo.
Yeah, they always have some gallows humor or some kind of snide comment to make about even, again, they don't love you if they're not making fun of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Freeze. Before I forget, you talk about these websites for used guns. I actually went on a couple of them, and it seemed what they're getting a lot of for resale is 20-year-old Czechoslovakian type 9mm. Tons and tons of them.
Yeah, a lot of look. There was a huge, and I'm not going to start naming importers or wholesalers, but there was a huge, and I mean huge, cache of guns that came out of Africa about 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months ago. I think Marky's familiar with this. I think we've talked about it. And I mean, a lot of these guns that are hitting the market now are these guns that have been sitting in these mud hut warehouses for 30, 40, 50 years in Africa. Because, mind you, in the 60s, when all the fucking African, mercenary wars, civil wars, colonial wars, call it whatever you want to call it, there were a lot of firearms being pushed to Africa. I.e. the Rhodesian A5.
Yeah.
There were a lot of guns pushed to Africa, and a lot of these guns have been sitting in warehouses for decades. And a huge cache of them just came into the United States less than 6 months ago. Don't quote me on the timeline because they could have come.
6 months. They've been.
I mean, at least that's when they hit the market. They could have been sitting in a customs warehouse for the last year, but when they started hitting the market, it's about 6 months or so ago. So a lot of these guns you're seeing on these milsurp, quote unquote milsurp guns you're seeing on the market is out of this cash coming from
Marky,
Africa.
you asked me what's going on up here. I forgot to tell both you and Freeze. The governor of Illinois marched with the protesters in a defund police march yesterday.
Was he marching against himself?
Yes, he held the banner in the front, like the politicians for election day walking. He did that. Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Who sets the budget for the city and the state? The chief executive, the mayor, the governor. If you want to cut the budgets, you fucking cut that budget, bitch. It's like whatever. It's crazy. Oh, to bounce back on the milsurp thing. I've noticed from the stuff that's been coming in, and I'm the stuff from Africa, the milsurp stuff that's coming in. I'm a little leery of it because I bet you a lot of it could be in rough shape, or maybe it won't be because maybe it was in a dry part of Africa. I just don't know. But there's been a new wellspring of French guns coming into the country, and that's unusual.
And that's all. But that's all coming out of Africa.
It's coming out of the same place. But what's unusual is it's nothing to pop up with Mausers. It's nothing to pop up with Enfields or even especially American surplus from the 40s and 50s. But there's so few French-made guns in circulation on the world market.
Well, right now, the big things that out of this African surplus that are coming up, and there's more coming, trust me, over the course of the next year and a half, there's going to be a lot more coming. But the two big things are the French Model 49s/4956s, both of them, and the Czech VZ52.
Oh God, I'm so sick of those 52s.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, it is what it is. There was a shit ton of them sent to Africa, and they're all coming back into the United States right now. And trust me, these VZ52s, the ones that I've seen, are a hell of a lot better than the VZ52s that Century imported back in the 90s, which Century, the stocks were so screwed up on them. Century coated them with this black tar shit.
I remember that.
And these are actually... Yes. Well, these are actually VZ52s coming in without that Century black tar crap. So some of the stocks are screwed up, yes, but some of them are actually decent.
I wouldn't be at all surprised to see, because you know how collectors, not necessarily collectors, but people that are trying to market stuff, eventually, I wouldn't be surprised, Freeze, your grandkids will eventually see black tarred VZ52s being sold as Black Widow VZ52s. You know what I mean? It's the shit gets gets a bullshit name hung to it to make it distinctive, and it's not really based on reality. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's actually a realistic possibility. I mean, it is because the black tar VZ52s back in the 90s, I've owned several of them. One of them I actually stripped the black tar off of, and it turned out the stock was pretty shitty, but I cleaned it up. But honestly, it was it really wasn't worth the time, effort, or work that I put into it, because it was pretty tough getting that shit off there, But I mean, they're interesting guns. It's an obsolete caliber. I think it's 7.62 by 45 or something like that.
That's what feels like a gun for me.
It's an obsolete caliber. It's not worth. I mean, I think you can buy ammo for it today, whereas in the 90s, you probably, it was pretty non-existent.
SKS is a better gun.
Oh, fuck yes. Yeah. But you know what, though? Here's the thing about the Czechs. The Czechs are innovative. they had the VZ52, which really was a crap gun, especially that weird side-folding bayonet that was loose as hell. I mean, it's a pretty crappy bayonet system. But then they came out with the VZ58, which the VZ58, I've got one myself. I love the VZ58 because it's the best of both worlds. It basically takes the whole structure of an AK-47. However, it takes the action of an SKS, which I think is far superior to the AK-47. So it's got a top eject, slide bolt. I mean, it's basically the best of both worlds.
The VZ58 uses a striker, doesn't it? Not a hammer. Isn't it a striker system? Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is a striker fired firearm, and it's got the action of an SKS with the basically the magwell and the structure of like an AK-47. It basically, they take two fine firearms, the SKS, which is a fine firearm, and the AK-47, which is a fine firearm, and the Czechs basically bastardize the two together to make a superior firearm. Look, anyone who's an AK fanboy who wants to sit there, and talk about how great the AK is, fuck the AK-47. The VZ58 is far superior to the AK-47. And, I mean, all you got to do is go out to the range with an AK and a VZ and shoot 1,000 rounds through each. And I guarantee you at the end of the day, you're going to be like, yeah, the VZ's a much better firearm.
I'll let you – I will let you answer the emails on that one.
I'll just send them to me, brother. I'll answer.
You and the VZ58 are like me and the Blazer. So let me tell you both. This came out yesterday. Hold on. I want to tell you guys this. This came out yesterday, and I thought it was interesting. And when I start talking about it, you're going to be like, "Oh God, a fucking another one." But hear me out. Larry Vickers announced yesterday that he's got a new signature edition gun, and this one.
Jesus.
Hold on, Larry. Well, Larry does good. So. But they're pretty smart this time. This one's through Lipsy's, so the same people that do his Glock runs, and Lipsy's does special runs of they'll do special runs of Ruger, they'll do special runs of they're kind of like the Lou Horton used to be. They buy enough of them, they place orders that they can get custom features and parts and whatever. So he's announced a Springfield Armory 1911, and it's in 45, and it's like, oh God, I mean 45. It's like, honestly, it needs to be 9mm, but that's fine. Maybe they can't. 9mm is a little bit harder to get run well to the standard that you would need for Larry Vickers. So it's a Springfield. I believe it's assembled by Springfield's Custom Shop. It's got Wilson Fire Control group on it. It's got, I think it's got Wilson lead sights. It's got a couple of his Larry Vickers magazines or something. But here's the thing. So it's the Springfield Armory custom shotgun with Wilson parts. I wish it was a 9mm. Now I'm like, oh great, another custom Larry Vickers gun that's going to cost like a fortune. You know what I mean? No, MSRP's $1,400, which means street price is going to be like what, 12?
12,
dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
and actually, that is not bad.
Are you kidding?
Because I figured.
No, wait a minute.
Larry Vickers, if it's a Larry Vickers special, I would figure you'd be talking $2,200-$2,300.
The Larry Vickers guns typically, because he'll run them through, certain companies that are going to charge certain prices, which is fine. But here's the thing: it's like not going to have a bunch of shit parts in it. It's going to be Springfield's basically platform assembled by their custom shop, I believe. It's got quality parts on it, and it's it'd be $1,200 to $1,400. Like that is truly the Kimber killer. That is a Kimber killer. Like,
you're absolutely right, because I tell you what, your average Kimber off the fucking shelf is going to be in that price range.
And it's like,
And honestly, that's a great price
and this
range.
gun will hold it. Will have residual value compared to like, no kicking Kimber, just like no kicking Sig, but they're kind of the same. Well, Cohen, who used to run Kimber, now runs Sig. They come up with so many different. Like, look, it's not a collectible.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a collectible, but what I'm saying is it's a gun. If you buy this gun, it sucks it's M45, but if you buy this gun and 10 years from now you're still running 1911s, you will not be ashamed to run this gun. You know what I mean? You're not going to outgrow this gun.
No. I agree with you 100%. And I'm not a Vickers fanboy, but the fact that it's based on a Springfield Armory base gun, it's got Wilson controls, it's got some of Vickers, and Vickers doesn't make the part. I mean, he's not out in his garage making these parts. He has quality companies making it. Yeah, and I mean, he's got his Vickers labeled parts on there with Wilson parts on a Springfield base. Honestly, you're looking at a solid firearm. I mean,
Marablow front. Like, I mean, this gun is for the money. It's like, dude, that's a legit gun.
I mean, yeah. For the money, that is totally legit. In 2020, I mean, it really
anybody
is.
would have something to say like, hey, here's a new release on a 45 1911. It's like, what's any different? You know what? This time, the fact of who's involved in it, and but it also tells you that there's a lot of room to move on these prices, because Springfield Custom Shop isn't cheap, Wilson isn't cheap, and Larry Vickers being involved isn't cheap, and they're down at $1,400. It's like, that's because they have to.
But you know what though? They're not being stupid. They're being like, okay, I mean, we're not cheap. We're not Taurus 1911s. But you know what? Let's put a reasonable price point on this. Let's build a solid firearm that people will buy at a reasonable price point. And honestly, MSRP at $1,400 is a very reasonable price point for a custom shop. I might be going over the fucking Rubicon by saying custom shop, but we'll say custom shop 1911.
People in their custom shop assemble it every barrel today made is a match grade barrel. It's like, okay, whatever. But I was like, if you want a 45 1911 with, you don't have to do anything to it, and you don't want to break the bank, and you don't want to feel like you got ripped off, or like, down the road you're going to want to change shit on this gun, this is the gun. If it's 12,
look,
but
I'll tell you what, at 1,200, at 1,200 out the door. Okay, so if it's 14 and change MSRP, you can get it between $1,200 and $1,300 at the shop. Truth is, if you buy a SIG 1911, a Kimber 1911, a Dan Wesson 1911, you're going to be spending that or more. I mean, $1,200 to $1,300 real gun shop price point. That's a solid price point. I mean, it really is.
If you were going to buy one, Marky,
I mean, it's solid.
Well, I'd wait for the 9mm. But I don't know if they're going to be able to get 9mm run that well, because there's a lot of tricks you got to do to them. So, I mean, I have no interest in 45.
Well, but you know what? Though, disregarding I'd buy a 9mm. If you just wanted to buy a solid 1911 and 45 ACP, that's one that you should seriously take a look at. Now, there's a lot of good 1911s and 45 ACP out there, don't get me wrong. But at that price point, with what's coming together with this gun, it's a solid gun, and it's something to work. It's actually
like
something you should
of shit parts, and that's where they're saving money. It's like, I don't know how they're doing
it,
but they're doing it. So we've gone long. So I have got the perfect police blotter story to wrap up this podcast. And because we need some levity, we need some fun, we need some dirtbaggery, and we need some porn in our podcast. So, and those of you that are thinking that I'm going to talk about the porn star complaining about the riots or how she was treated, you are incorrect. There is a porn star. It's a guy. There's a guy in Spain, and he's a porn star. And I didn't recognize his name. I mean, I know, what's the name? The one Freeze. What's the guy's name? The hedgehog guy. So that guy. So that's about the only one.
Johnny Holmes.
So I know that one. Ron Jeremy, and I know the one did not have sex with Donald Trump. So, so anyway, this guy, he's apparently been around a long time. He looks like he's my age, like late 40s, and he was arrested. You're like, what does a Spanish porn star get arrested for? Apparently, he was involved in a mystic venom toad ritual, and I guess they were licking toads, and I guess somebody died. And it's like, what? I know. You're like, I think it probably gets them high. And apparently, and here's the weird part, this toad, this mystic venomous poisonous toad the guy died from, this toad, you can't even find this toad in Spain. The toad comes from, I think, Arizona. So like they had to bring poisonous toads from Arizona. So not only do we have porn stars, not only do we have mystic rituals, which, oh God. So now I have now revealed to me doper game where people are probably scooping up venomous toads and selling them around the world so people can get high on them, because wait for it, I'm sure it's all natural. I mean, it's just like
oh my God, you've got to be crazy. That's crazy.
Well, this wraps up.
Jesus. So, where can I buy one of these toads?
The John1911 Podcast. If you want to see any stories, pictures, or links, or maybe a shopping cart to where you can buy a venomous toad, please go to our website, John1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
Bye-bye.
See you later.